the original Supreme Shakti. She stands above the worlds and links the creation to the ever unmanifest mystery of the Supreme.
My father, who was in the diamond merchant business, he insisted that once in a while I would come to his shop. And so in the back of the shop, I started to do a drawing. And I started to do the creative thing that became my life's work. After 60 years, I found this drawing stuck away in one of my portfolios. I never knew the mother in the conscious mind. This was a painting of mine that I did as a 15-year-old child. Now you look at this, if you see what I see, we agree.
The life of earth, a tree growing towards heaven, the body of earth, a tabernacle of God.
And when I heard Mother's voice, as I'd never heard before, seemingly never heard before, I was so awakened to the fact that I knew her voice. I mean, it was a voice that was so familiar to me, as if it couldn't be more familiar than if it were a family member. When I was 10 years old, I had a vision of a man in an Indian outfit with a long beard and hair. Obviously, my connection to Sri Aurobindo and the mother was long-standing. And that's in 1960 when I decided at that point to go to meet this remarkable person that I've heard so much about.
The more complete your faith, sincerity and surrender, the more will grace and protection be with you.
The doors were beginning to open. When you're going to do something that is right, everything always aids you. The divine wants you to do it, you know. When I arrived on the soil of India, I felt an incredible heat vibration come into my whole body. And I knew that this land was very special and I could feel it. When I first arrived at the ashram, I came to the area where they said you could wait for Mother. And I looked up at the balcony. I thought to myself, I want to be in the very most perfect spot for her to see me. You know, I wasn't thinking about anything else. Suddenly she appears. And she was the most remarkably beautiful looking figure. What she vibrated was so powerful to me that all my questions disappeared in answer.
I remember Sam and I standing just under Mother's balcony, receiving her blessings.
I had taken his spot, which he had always been at. His Indian name was Narad. We became very, very dear friends.
No earthly force or otherworldly stress can stay our journey to the golden halls, where all the tides of violence and hate are swept away, no longer ours to keep.
I lived at the ashram for a number of weeks, maybe a month, and then I realized that I could have a private meeting with her. She said, what do you do almost like that. Mother, I'm a painter. All the more reason for us to come together, because she had been a painter in her life. What do you paint? I said, I paint heads, Mother. Oh, I said to Champaka the other day, who is that new face there with all the heads around him? I knew she did have the answers, and I knew it was my destiny to come, and I knew that I would find what I was in some way looking for. She looked at me and she said, oh, I know your atmosphere for a long, long, long time. When I was a young person, my intentions were to be an actor. I was acting quite sincerely and seriously. I even acted on Broadway, and I played with many people who you all know by name.
He was always very theatrical when he talked about his paintings. He had kind of that flair to him.
Eric used to say, Sam is the engine and I am the caboose. And I think that's the sweetness of his complementary relationship with Eric, who was a writer, mediating presence.
In probably my very early 20s, I began to have all kinds of occult experiences, and also voices were talking to me. Really had to find out what this was, what the meaning of it was, and I decided to go to Europe and discover myself in a different way. And I went to Paris, where I began to paint.
I would have loved to walk the streets of Paris with him and would have maybe found another side of him. He being an artist, having spent with a big artist in Paris, imbued himself with all that adventure of new forms of art, and also combining it in his painting. I mean, there are absolutely rendering of nature and rendering of people, a recognizable, natural phenomena, but they are put into an atmosphere of which is actually almost stronger than the individual item which was painted.
Here he is in Paris with James Baldwin and Lutka Pink and Paul Jenkins, and keeps this friendship with Buford Delaney, one of Sam's contemporaries. So many intellectuals and black artists and gay artists were in Paris.
He came back from Paris and he studied with Hans Hofmann, and he gave Hans Hofmann a great deal of credit of his inspiration at that moment.
I paint with the ability to discover who and what is this being.
For me, the inflow of the actual individual forms and the atmosphere, shifting of focuses and creating a magic in it, and allowing the viewer to enter the paintings. And I think even the fact that you sometimes have a feeling either or that he didn't do very well there, or there's a mistake, or something is missing, this incompleteness or that aliveness of his brushwork. It's like a much more interactive between the viewer and the painting.
When a moment comes that you are so free of all that which we talk about, ego or personality, drops completely away, and you just become an instrument of a force, it is extremely blissful. Creativity is akin to the divine. It's the bridge from where we are to where we want to be. Every one of us are related to that force in some remarkable way. Sri Aurobindo's yoga, it's a yoga of a very unique approach to the living process. It's deeply recognizes the evolutionary process of this planet and us as humans on this planet. And it allows us to understand how in some way to aid the process of the evolution.
Where do you find people from so many countries, so many cultures, who are focused without any result at the level of position or money or status? They are dedicated to a cause. The force of evolution is very strong. Where it is going to lead humanity, one doesn't know. You know, one sentence of Sri Aurobindo's, man is a transitional being. Today, the transition has happened. We have changed. The transition is not something theoretical. We are living it. That sense of the present moving into a new kind of future, of which we don't yet know, but we sense it. But the first time I met Sam, we felt that we had a very strong bond. And we realized that the bond was Mother's presence.
Sam was psychically open. It was so powerful. And he invoked that presence so strongly. And that was a great gift, because I never met the mother in person. I met her through Sam.
My meetings with Mother are every day and every way, you know, and it's not just that little moment when I went to India, because otherwise what would be the meaning? I mean, the meeting with Mother is, you know, your connection with the divine in every way, and all of us have it. And if you have it, you know it. And if you don't know it, you still have it. There are many ways of inquiry, and each one will give you an answer, depending on the nature that you yourself have and that your inclinations are, because we're all the same in a sense, and we're all different. We receive in different ways. The more that you open yourself to the divine, the more inclusive everything is. And all the things that were being translated orally to me said that my work was to go back to America and create a center for Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. That was what my future work was to be. At the end of '64, she told me to come up here to begin to look for the property. And she indicated this area of New York State, believe it or not. New York is dead for you. You can leave now. I came away and I looked at every property imaginable. Nothing seemed to be available that I felt was right. And just a day before I thought I would go home, I met a man. He said, I had a call this morning for a new property. And I said, well, we're in the car, let's go. So we drove one car length into the property, you know, where you come in from the road. And the one car length, Mother said to me, yes, this is it. But the minute I walked in the house, there was such a purity in that atmosphere. It had been lived in by a Christian religious man. There were all kinds of religious books, and I just thought this was one of them. And I had such a sense of well-being when I walked into the house. And in 1968, we came away from New York and moved up here to begin what is now called Matagiri Sri Aurobindo Center.
Sam certainly was the person who gave all his presence, his energy to getting Matagiri started and going.
But that's when his artistic personality came out very clearly. And he was like a child while driving, talking about what to see, how to see.
I can see the road going up, and I see the larger place in front here. It was like, it gave you the sense you have arrived.
So, I mean, being there was like being in the ashram. You felt the nice, cozy, friendly, cheerful atmosphere.
A beautiful surrounding, and having a presence like Sam there, being a host, being welcome. It's very, very beautiful.
It's like a cocoon. Once you go in, you feel you're home or you're close to the ashram.
What struck me when you entered that compound is the atmosphere.
That when I went there, I felt completely at home.
And I think the name of Matagiri is really a beautiful thing, the mountain of the mother.
Who was considered a medium for the mother goddess of the universe, the diamond Vajra, who irradiates a diamond light, which is the creative infinite energy of goodness that is the nature of life.
For me, Matagiri, Sam and Eric, it makes one person. They're inseparable. They complemented each other so well.
There's also one sentence of Mother's which keeps coming back to me. Unless people collaborate, the divine cannot act.
We had a telephone call from India. No, not from India, from Sri Chinmoy, actually. He called me. That evening, he had gotten a telegram from India that Mother had passed away. At that time, we were a community of 8 or 9 people living here all the time, men and women. And I was awakened by Mother's presence. You are my body. And I had such an incredible vision when she said that. I saw her explode like a star, and she scattered all over the world. But it was a vision just like, well, I don't know if you've ever seen a star explode. I don't think I ever had. But you can imagine what it's like. And then she said, those who are closer to me will feel it more.
Matagiri holds him as the cradle that gave it birth and helped it to grow. And now there are people like Julian and Wendy and others who keep nurturing that base.
We're bound by all these invisible strings that are connecting us in a global work beyond our conscious knowing to manifest something more true, more integral, higher, wider, deeper.
If you work with diamonds a lot, you get into this sort of energy. It is a symbol of the hardest thing that it is. So therefore it is a great symbol of divine energy and of infinity and of luminosity.
She felt that Matagiri would be like a leverage to kind of lift up the consciousness of America.
Aurobindo's vision was that the whole world and planet would become like that. So he thought, I'll make a shard of that diamond here in Mount Tremper.
Is what Mother said. America is essential for the manifestation of the new world. And I think one of the forerunners definitely is Sam Spanier.
It's because the mother blessed it, gave the place her presence, and Sam carried that presence.